Hi, welcome to the Louie File. You know, the Bible tells us that God is love. I just wanted to explore that for a moment. What does that mean, God is love? You know, the Beatles used to sing songs all the time, you know, love, love me do, all you need is love. All of these songs, and using the term love, and you know, there's thousands and thousands of love songs out there that you could hear any given day on the radio, from rock and roll to country. Lost love, love rekindled, looking for love. I mean, but what does it really mean when it comes to the Bible? It says God is love. You know, it doesn't, one thing it doesn't say is, it doesn't say God has love. It says God is love. That's important to distinguish, I think. His very nature, his very being, the very essence of who God is love. So what does that mean? Well, we find out what love is by finding out who God is, and we find out who God is by finding out what love is. All right, so what is love? Love is for others. Love is always for others. It's always thinking more highly of others than yourself. John 3:16 tells us that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him would not perish but would have everlasting life. So love gives, and love is willing to sacrifice itself on behalf of the loved one. So we can also learn sometimes by opposites. We can look at the enemy of God, whom we tend to know of as Satan. Most people believe it was Lucifer prior to him becoming Satan. Lucifer was an angel, and he was designed to operate sort of like we were designed to operate. He was, you know, the word Lucifer means light bearer. So he was created and designed to display God's light and his love. Oh, I gotta get my camera straight here. He was created to display God's character and love, but he decided he wanted to be the light himself. So he sort of became his own God, or at least in his own mind. He tried to separate himself and be God himself. He wanted to rule things the way he wanted to rule them, which is essentially the nature of rebellion. So if you take this God who is love, who was meant to shine through Lucifer and shine through us, and you pervert that, and you try to take it on for yourself, then this love, which is always for others, will then be inverted, perverted, and it will become a love for myself. Then I will find myself using everyone and everything around me in order to use it for selfish gain and selfish uses, right? So it becomes, rather than a love, God who is love, being for others and pouring out myself for others, I will begin to try to use up others for my own benefit. So I will go from edifying or building up others to tearing down others in order to build up myself. So the nature of God and the nature of our enemy is exposed when we understand love from a biblical standpoint. So it's self-love versus other love. You know, in Philippians 2, Paul instructs us, he says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. You know, and it says that even though he was God, he didn't consider that something to be held on to or grasped. He didn't try to take in his love and use it for himself, but rather he humbled himself and he became a man. He became in the form of a servant, and he was obedient even to the death on the cross. Wow. So he poured his life out for others. Satan, on the other hand, he sees others as being for himself, and it's all here to glorify him and to push his agenda and his plans forward. If you will, well, Peter said that he's like a roaring lion, and he's roaming about seeking whom he may devour. See, that's what he does. That's what we do when we're joined up to him, is we devour other people's stuff, and we use them and wring them out and throw them away. When they can no longer push us forward, we're done with them. That's a sad place to be, but that's the description of the fallen man. The fallen man is in union with the satanic self or self spirit. Ephesians 2 says we were all that way, and we were all dead in our trespasses and sins, and in the way we used to walk, according to the course of this world, and according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that's now at work in the children of disobedience. And we were all by nature children of wrath, even as the rest. So that's why God had to come here and rescue us. Jesus himself had to pull us out from under that self-for-self perverted version of love and put his spirit in us and restore to us a right mind and a right spirit and give us the right heart in order for us to start learning how to die to our own selfish desires and our own selfish wants in order to build up others. The Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians 4, he said, "Death works in us, but life in you." See, he had come to understand that everything that came into his life was for the benefit of others. He said at the beginning of 2 Corinthians, he said, "If I've been comforted, it's for your comfort." He said, "If I've been persecuted or suffering wrong, it's for your comfort." He started to get the single eye, and he started to see that Christ was in him, living Christ sacrificial life as him. He had come to find fulfillment through Christ's death, burial, and resurrection, and him living his life through him, to the point that no matter what happened to him, he started to see it as a benefit for others and for others to grow up into him. It's a sacrificial life. It's a suffering life. Even Jesus himself, it says, learned obedience through the things which he suffered. So anyway, these may be just ramblings to you today, but I hope that this helps you to spur you to search yourself and to discover who God is. What is this love that the Bible talks of? One day, we're going to know him even as we're known. And that siren you're hearing won't be heard anymore in the streets of the New Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem that we know is coming down one day. There'll be no need of sirens unless they're there to announce the glory of God and the arrival of the King of Glory. So until then, we're going to still live in this fallen world, and we're going to have to deal with fallen people, and we may still have to struggle with selfish desires, but Christ in us is our hope of glory, and he is renewing our minds, and he is transforming our lives as we speak, and I thank him for it. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time on the Louie File.